How's it going, guys? Today I'm going to be showing you how I'm going to harvest a sweet potato from this food forest. So this is just a little section of land next to our greenhouse that was just basically vacant, full of weeds. We had to whip snip all the time. So we decided to turn this into a little version of a food forest to get some production out of it. So we've got a ground cover of sweet potato. We have a few things like turmeric and ginger growing in the understory. We also have some bananas and other fruit trees, and this is the water tank for our shade house that's just being covered by sweet potato, obviously. So let's get into it. So we just had a big rain here last night, so there is some water on top of the soil in some sections and it's a bit boggy, but we'll get into it anyway. So usually once the potatoes are pretty developed, you're going to see some just sticking out of the ground, and one of the ways to actually find them is you can take your shoes off if it's safe, there's no snakes and whatnot, and just feel around until you feel a hard section, and then that's usually where the potato is. So here's some I've spotted before, because this section here is where we usually walk, so it's pretty bare most of the time and the potatoes are visible. So what you want to do is basically just stick it in, lever out the potatoes, just kind of loosen it up, and then you should be able to pull the potatoes out. That's a nice big one. Now obviously this is pretty wet, and being winter, you don't want to leave the potatoes in super moist when it's cold, because a lot of the time they'll rot and they won't turn out nicely. Another thing to notice is any sections that stick out of the ground are going to be green, so you don't want to eat those. You want to cut those off and then you can eat the rest of the potato. If you see any shoots that you want to keep, obviously I have heaps of material still in here, but if you don't have a lot, you could take these off and replant them. So a lot of the time I'll strip. Oh, there's another one came out. So it's pretty soft, and you just want to take these roots off. It's a nice big one. Already probably got a kilo just there. So what I usually do is I'll try and scrape the top off. There's a nice big worm. So look how wet it is. Not ideal for sweet potatoes. So there's one there that's you can see what's happened is it's too wet, and this section of it has rotted. So this top bit seems to be hard, and what I generally do with these is I use them to restart the area. So I'll just throw them on top of the ground somewhere and they'll reshoot for next season. And the reason I just throw them on top is if you put them back in the ground, they're just going to continue to rot, but when they're on top, they'll just dry out and they usually survive, and then next season they'll keep growing. So a lot of the time it's pretty easy by hand, especially when it's this wet. There's a nice big one, lots of worms. There's another one. There's another one. So if you feel them, sometimes you can just pull them out like this one, sometimes you're going to snap little pieces off like that. So if it looks like it's probably going to be a big one, that's when you want to use your pitchfork. Nice long one. That one we'll just leave in. Here's another one. As you can see, usually I'll just rip the tops off. And you can see there's a few there. One, two, three. So people will say this is not really the ideal location to grow them because it's wet, but keep in mind this isn't wet all the time. It's just because it's just rained. Obviously, otherwise they wouldn't grow like this. They would just rot. So, and the other thing that's good about this is I haven't even been in here that much probably over the last year. I haven't done any weeding. And then, so once you set it up, what I've done is, you can see a little bit, is I did about 15 centimeters of wood chip on top of a layer of cardboard. So this all used to be weeds. So we did cardboard, wood chip, and then we planted the sweet potato as a ground cover just to make sure that the weeds didn't come back. And then because this section was all weeds and we were wasting labor maintaining it, now it kind of just is its own ecosystem for animals. We don't have to maintain it really at all, besides coming in here and clearing out sweet potato and harvesting it. And we get a free output of sweet potato, which is pretty awesome. There's a nice one. The nice one. So yeah, I think that's a pretty good harvest already. So this is a 20-litre bucket, and we've probably done a third, I'd say. So it'd be a couple kilos in there, and we've basically just done a square metre or a bit over. So you can imagine through this whole section, I'll take you for a little walk. So as you can see, we've got a lot of sweet potato growing. We've got a little banana tree. This is just an elephant ear I pulled out of the nursery. Doesn't really produce anything. I don't think they're edible. It's not like a taro. It's just ornamental, but it's quite nice. We have a little frangipani, which helps with pollination, and then the rest is sweet potato. So you can imagine if we harvested this whole lot, there'd be kilos and kilos and kilos of sweet potato through here, which is pretty awesome. So here's our nice little harvest from today. There's my hand for scale. That's that one that had the green top. So they call that green shoulders when it's pushing out of the ground. So you just want to cut that back to where it's white again. So this is a white version of the sweet potato that has purple on the inside. It seems similar to the Hawaiian purple. I think the Hawaiian purple has more purple through it, because some of these don't have that much purple. But I have a little scales here. So we're gonna have a weigh up of a couple of the bigger ones that we got. So this one here, nice little round one. So 540 grams. This one here, $669. This one, $350. So there's probably about 2 kilos or so maybe there. I usually just come in and do about a square meter and pull about this much out, because this will be enough to do a few meals for myself and my partner. And yeah, okay, thanks for following along, guys. If you found any of this helpful or liked the video, if you could give me a thumbs up or a subscribe, that'd be awesome. That really helps the channel out. All right, see you next time.